Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's TechGig Webinar on how UiPath Autopilot for developers is changing the way we build. I'm your host, Khushi, and I'm delighted to have you all with us today. As AI assistance continues to reshape how software is built, tested, and deployed, tools like UiPath Autopilot for developers are empowering teams to move faster while focusing on what truly matters: logic, creativity, and innovation. In today's session, we'll dive deep into the real world impact of AI powered development. From writing coded workflows and suggesting next steps to smart debugging and automated test case generation, we'll explore how Autopilot reduces the burden of repetitive work, amplifies productivity, and helps developers handle complex projects with greater ease. We'll also address important questions around autonomy, control, and trust in AI-led execution, and break the myth of AI replacing developers with practical examples of how these tools are actually enabling them. Whether you are an experienced developer, an automation enthusiast, or just curious about the future of intelligent app development, this conversation is sure to offer meaningful takeaways. So let's get started and explore how UiPath Autopilot is redefining what it means to build with speed, precision, and imagination. To facilitate the session, folks, please join me in welcoming Mr. Prasanth Krishnan, who is currently serving as the Principal Sales Engineer at UiPath. As the Principal Sales Engineer at UiPath, he is leading technical sales strategy and automation solution delivery across India. With 20 plus years of experience in digital transformation, sales engineering, and RPA, he previously served as principal consultant at Edgeworth, managing global automation projects and client engagements. Passionate about AI and emerging tech, he is also an avid fiction reader and sports enthusiast. He believes in harnessing technology to solve real-world problems at scale. It's such a pleasure, Prasanth, having you here with me today.
Thank you, Kushi. Thank you for the welcome.
So I'd like to also notify that this session is scheduled for an hour. The first 45 minutes will feature insights and presentation from our guest speaker, and the final 15 minutes will be open for Q&A. So everyone feel free to drop your questions anytime in the Q&A window. Also, there are some links in the resources tab for all the attendees, so feel free to check them out. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Now, I would like to hand it over to you, Prasanth, to take this forward.
All right. Thank you, Kushi. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. As you all know, AI is no longer just a buzzword. It's becoming really a powerful co-creator for developers, and not just developers, for everyone. And specifically for developers, it is helping us code smarter. It is helping us code much faster. So today, we will explore how AI, and specifically UiPath, is rapidly transforming developer productivity, from accelerating code generations, checking for the quality of the code, automating repetitive tasks, etc. As AI evolves from copilots and to more autonomous agents, it's actually unlocking new levels of speed, accuracy, quality checks, creativity in software development. My name is Prasanth Krishnan. I am a principal sales engineer at UiPath, and I'm happy to be here walking you through this particular session. As Kushi mentioned, please do post your questions in the Q&A panel out there. And the last 15 minutes, I will take up questions. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. All right. So what we will do today is we'll just give you an overview of some of the developer productivity tools. We'll focus on the UiPath Autopilot. So Autopilot is the tool from UiPath which are catered towards developers, testers, and also everyone. We'll also look at a very cool concept called Healing Agent. And then we'll talk a little bit about the UiPath community also. Hopefully I should be done in the next 30-35 minutes. But before that, I wanted to start this poll just to understand this audience level of understanding of UiPath Autopilot. Krishi, if you want to launch the poll.
Everyone, please feel free to, vote for this and let us know your views. We'll have this poll for a minute. So till then, you can let us know. All those who are still left, we'll be closing the poll in the next 10 seconds. So please pass now. So here we are with the results.
All right. Okay. Got it. Okay. So I don't think a lot of people have heard about UiPath Autopilot, and very few people have already using it. But hopefully this session will give you a good understanding of what UiPath is about and UiPath Autopilot is about, and how you can use that in your developer roles. Let me go back to my deck here. All right. So I'm sure as developers, you are using some of these AI tools. So we have quite a few AI tools which helps you with your developer productivity, right? From GitHub Copilots to Codium to Amazon Code Whisperer to the Google Gemini Code Assistant, which I found pretty interesting, the Cursor AI also. And there's a ton of tools which are out there today, which helps you to create your code faster. And not just about the coding faster, it also gives you a lot of code contextualized understanding. For example, if you look at the GitHub Copilot, it helps you understand what is the relevant code, which is relevant across what you've currently coded, and it can give you suggestions. Or it could be about code completions. You could have a chat to understand what is the best next level of coding which needs to be done, or next level of code which needs to be created. So there's a lot of these, and the code explanation part. So that's one cool feature which I've really found in the GitHub Copilot is about the code explanation, where it can really explain you what is your code and what are the best steps to make your code better. And more importantly, all these comes with a knowledge base. So there is definitely a huge knowledge base which can be leveraged for you to make your day-to-day development and your coding much faster. And if you look at the bottom one, the Microsoft Copilot, I'm sure you all have played around with it. It's kind of a virtual assistant which is out there. It helps you do things faster, not just from a coding perspective, but also from a lot of generative AI, writing emails, summarizations, etc. That's where we are also there, the UiPath Autopilot, the last block out there. We work on some of these areas, not just from a virtual assistant, but also from a development productivity improvement. So why do you really need some of these developer AI tools? So if you look at it, it makes life simple. So it is a productivity improvement tool. It helps you do things faster, whether it is accelerating your coding time, helping you to do your code reviews, giving you a better quality of code, streamlining workflows, etc. Right? And even more importantly, this has opened up an avenue for non-developers to play around with some of these coding. So today we have citizen developer programs. We have business users creating code. You have non-technical folks creating automations, etc. So these are all tools which are giving you artificial intelligence. It is giving you capabilities. It gives you recommendations by which anybody can create wonderful tools, and it can create wonderful ideas and programs out there. A quick view of UiPath. I just wanted to talk about what our company is about. So we are a global leader in the automation space. If you understand the RPA space, the robotic process automation, wherein which we can the tool what we have, the UiPath robots, can basically automate any business process which is out there. So it could look at an Excel, read data. It could look at an Outlook, read data, go into an SAP system, go into an Oracle system, go into any mainframe or a web application, enter data, create reports, summarize data, send out emails, etc. So any process which a human is doing, it can be automated with a software bot, which is basically what our platform is about. And it has more advanced capability in terms of natural language, in terms of AI, machine learning, LLMs, etc. So there are capabilities from UiPath which helps you automate any complex workflow which is out there. We are a global leader in this space. We have about close to 11,000 customers globally, a lot of business partners, and more importantly, for folks like you, we have a very huge global community. So we have about 3 million plus global community members, which is basically developers, technical folks like you, who are leveraging UiPath for their automation journey. Now, where does this current today's topic fit in with respect to UiPath? So while we are an automation platform and we can talk about how we can automate business process, what we wanted to focus today is about developer productivity and how UiPath can help in that. So that's where the first pillar comes in when it comes to UiPath and our approach to generative AI. We have a set of tools which can supercharge productivity. And these are the tools which a developer will use. These are the tools which a tester will use. And apart from that, we have few other capabilities which helps you train models faster. You can do much more automations easily. I will not get into that in today's discussion, but what I wanted to focus today is on the first part, the supercharged productivity, which is basically a set of tools called Autopilot. So we have a set of tools called Autopilot, which is basically for developers. So we have an Autopilot for developer, which helps you create automations much faster. And when I talk about automation, these are UiPath automations, and we'll see how this works. And then you have Autopilot for everyone, which is basically a virtual agent or a virtual assistant, which can help you do things faster. It is not just development part, but it could be for anything. It could be for you can drop in a large document into Autopilot and ask it to summarize it into 2 lines. Or you could drop in an invoice and ask it to extract the data. You could ask Autopilot to create an email for you. So there are various capabilities, and we'll kind of see it with whatever time we have today. And then we have Autopilot for testers, which makes a tester's journey much more easier in terms of creation of test cases, in terms of coding those test cases, etc. And I hope there are a few folks in this session who are testers and who are interested to understand this a little bit more. Let's look at Autopilot. So, but before I get into Autopilot, so in UiPath, how do you create your automations? So that's where the Studio comes in. So we have an IDE called Studio. Let me just show you how this looks. That's how it looks. So it's basically a desktop application. You could have various activities dropped in here. So for, let's say, I want to do something with an Excel. So I can have for each Excel row, I can have something like this. Okay. So I build my automation here through this IDE. It's a low-code platform. Let's say you want to go ahead and record something on a web application. You could use this app web recorder. Let's say you want to use something in computer vision. You could use computer vision. Or let's say you want to do an activity. You could do that by adding an activity here. So let's say I'm working with an SAP screen and I want to log in into SAP. So I can add this out here. I can add this activity called SAP login, and I can provide my details around my SAP environment, and that's pretty much it. So you're not writing code. It's a drag and drop. It's a low-code IDE by which you create your UiPath automations. So that's the IDE, or what we call as Studio. We also have a web version of it. So if I go to my environment here, this is the admin console of UiPath, or what you call as the orchestrator. So we also have a web version of Studio, much easy to create automations. These days, we find a lot of our business users coming in here and creating these automations by themselves. So you don't need a very advanced developer to come in and create your UiPath automations. Anybody can come in and just decide on what your automations is about, and you could just add things here. So it becomes pretty easy for you to just create these automations. So Studio is the foundation layer wherein which you create the automations. But how do you make it a little bit more interesting, or how do you make it a little bit more faster? While even the Studio is a very low-code IDE, how can you provide more capabilities for a developer to create things faster? So that's where Autopilot for developer comes in. So here is where you can actually create these workflows, and you can build extremely complex workflows using NLP. You can just give natural language instructions, and it'll create that entire workflow for you. It could generate apps. It could generate complex expressions, etc., all in natural language. So let's take a look at it. How does this work? So let me go back to my studio here. You can see that there's a bunch of templates which are out there. So let's say I'm working on something like this, extracting data from a new invoice file in Google Drive, and I want to store it in Google. So I can use this template. Or let's say I want to do something like, let's say, sync Gmail emails to communications mining, or extract data from invoice file in OneDrive and store in Excel. So I can start with a template. So there are a couple of templates which are out there, which helps you get started. It will give you a building block by which you can create those automations. What you could also do is you could create it using Autopilot. So let's take a look at how this works. So let's say I'm looking at read data from Excel and create ticket in ServiceNow and send email using Outlook. Just giving an example. It could be much more complicated. You could say that my Excel is in this particular folder. You are looking at a specific range, etc. You could give all that, but just for demo purpose, I'm just giving something like this. What it does is it will create that workflow for you. It will create the building blocks. It will create that workflow, which is pretty much ready for you to just go ahead and configure it and get started. While you can still do it on the canvas, this becomes extremely easy for you to go ahead and create that automation. So you can see that now this automation will be created. So it has all created that. It has my Excel file reading. All I need to do is provide which is my workbook, which is my range, etc. I can connect to my ServiceNow from here. I can connect to my Outlook from here and provide the details out to the right side. And this automation is pretty much done in with respect to creating this particular workflow. So that's the first part. That's where you create the workflow using Autopilot for developers. But what I also wanted to show you is one more part of this, and we will see how this all comes together. So we also have something called an apps. So compare this with an application which you want to create, a web application which you want to create. So I could create a web application which, for example, in this case, I've created an invoice entry screen. So it gives you an option wherein which I can create a web page using something called UiPath apps. It could be a form, it could be a static page, whatever. But I can create that very, very easily using a template like this. So I could create, add a control here. So I can decide which control I want, whether it's a text box or a text area or whatever you need. You could just drag and drop here, and you can create this particular interface just by dragging and dropping and putting it here. But what we have also done is we have kind of elevated this experience by giving a capability by which you could actually drop an image and ask you to create that entire canvas. So let's see how that works. So let's say I have an image of something like this. It's an SAP screen. I took a image from an actual SAP application. It's a create organization. So I've just taken a screenshot. Now, this could be something which you have created using a paint, or you could have just written it down in a notepad and you've taken a picture of it. It could be anything. But I can provide this into the Autopilot for developer. Like, for example, in this case, all I'm doing is I'm attaching this particular screenshot, and it basically creates that entire app for you. So you can imagine how easy it is, how much time it will save instead of coming into that canvas, dragging and dropping in each of those text areas, the buttons, the text boxes, the various radio buttons, etc. Right? Instead of that, you could just come in, you could drag and drop a picture, you could attach an image of that particular screen you're trying to build, and it will automatically, in a couple of seconds, it will automatically create that entire page for you. A few more seconds, and that should be done. Almost there. Yep. So you can see that just by giving my screenshot, it has actually created my entire form for me. Now, this could be pretty complex. I only have text fields and few drop downs here, but then I could have multiple kind of radio buttons, check boxes, etc., and it will actually create. But that's not just it. What it has also done is it has also created an entity. It has also created the backend part of it. So while what you saw is the front end piece, where the form wherein which a user can come in and probably enter some information, it has also created a backend. It has also created a table wherein which it is, you can see that there is an ID, there is BP category, BP role, etc., etc. And it has already kind of associated that with the field in the form. So whatever you enter, now let's say I publish this particular app, and if a user is entering some details here, it will automatically be saved in this particular table, in this particular in this particular column. So it did not just create the front end piece of it; it also created the back end, and it has kind of associated everything. So we saw two things. We saw how a developer can use Autopilot to create a workflow much easy by giving a natural language instruction. We also saw how a developer can create an app using by dropping an image into Autopilot, and it created that entire app for you, and also the table associated with that particular app. But let's see how this all fits in together. So you saw two different pieces. Let's see how this fits in together. And for that, I would like to play a quick video. It's a 4 minutes video, which gives you an entire use case of how you build an app to, you finish the coding of it and you publish the app to an end user who can enter the details and the data gets saved. It runs an automation. So let's quickly play this and take a look at this.
Autopilot for developers transforms how you automate. In the next few moments, learn how our leading AI tools seamlessly integrate into your development process. Enhance efficiency, minimize errors, and supercharge your productivity to automate the most important processes. Today, we're automating the process of onboarding customers in SAP by creating customer data and populating it into our system. Typically, this system is not accessible to new customers for self-service, so we will build a public app for this. Previously, it would take developers a significant amount of time to get everything working end-to-end. With the help of Autopilot, all I need is to take a screenshot and to upload it to apps. Using our computer vision and large language models, a new application is built in seconds. With just a few clicks, Autopilot generated the required fields to onboard a new organization. And it's not only the front end, since the data service is generated automatically to store a record every time the application is submitted. Apps allow me to write expressions to fully customize the task I want to accomplish. With the help of Autopilot, I will describe in natural language what I need, and it will help me by generating the expression.
Yeah, so it is not just about the creating; it is also about generating the expression. So you could say that I want this particular category to be always in uppercase. So you could just say that in natural language, and it will create the wrapper around it.
I can also ask for more changes by making the input to lowercase. Of course, for this process to be fully automated, I want to save the data in some external systems. For this, I will describe the job I need to be accomplished.
So now we have built the app, but now you want the data from the app, not just to be saved in the database or in the table, but you also want something else to be done. Like in the sense, you want to take the data, create it in Salesforce, and few other steps. So what we're doing now is we're building the workflow just by using natural language instructions.
And I want to create an account in Salesforce to use the recent UiPath capabilities to summarize, to notify the team over Slack, and to create a task into our tracking system. Once again, Autopilot will assist by converting the description into automation steps that can be configured and customized in Studio. These features enable developers of all skills levels to accelerate the creation of automations and to significantly reduce the complexity, making it a truly low-code experience. The output is an automation constructed using our activities based on the steps described in natural language. Autopilot populates fields as instructed, such as filling in values for the team channel. For the next step, we want to use automation to input customer details automatically into SAP. Additionally, Autopilot can analyze the target application and based on our...
So now we're using Autopilot for the UI automation also, so how it can help you for looking at the target, the application and getting those anchors and things like that.
For user description, it can understand the elements, identify the target selectors, and construct a sequence of activities to fulfill the task. In our case, we want to fill all the details. At any time, we can monitor the output and we can review the corresponding activities and the identified elements. For today's automation, I would like to also input the standard address section so I can send a new request to expand the already identified steps. Once I am satisfied with the results of the UI automation via Autopilot, I have the option to return to the Studio Designer to refine and complete my automation by doing any necessary adjustments, ensuring that the automation operates smoothly and meets the required specifications. For the final step in my automation, I'm required to input a value for the account number in Salesforce. In accordance with company policy, this ID must be a unique value, which is achieved by appending a timestamp. I will explain this to Autopilot to demonstrate.
Yeah, so you can see here that we are not actually building a code here to create a random 8-digit number and making it very unique, right? We're just giving some instructions and Autopilot will automatically create that expression for you and include it as part of the overall workflow.
How simple it is to generate expressions on business specifications. Empowering developers to reach their peak, Autopilot for developers is a game changer. By transforming complex automations into a few simple steps, we're not just saving time, we're crafting a revolution in efficiency. Let's explore the end-to-end flow now that the automation is live. Any supplier will be greeted with a welcome email that invites them to self-onboard via an app. This public app, generated with Autopilot, can be accessed by any vendor and then can provide the needed information. Submitting the form information will trigger the automation that onboards the vendor in SAP. This is using your automation, and we can see the robot in action. Once the registration is complete, the vendor will receive an acknowledgement. Besides SAP, the account is also registered in Salesforce, and the follow-up task is created in Asana.
So what we saw is an end-to-end flow, wherein which we were able to create an app by dropping an image of how that app should be. We also saw how the automation was created using UiPath Autopilot. We said that, okay, it has to create an account in Salesforce, send it as a Slack, create a task in Asana, etc. So it was all created using Autopilot, including the UI automation was just, the expressions around it and the UI automations, everything was done using Autopilot. So this really helped that was the first part.
Autopilot for development.
I hope you can still hear me. Khushi, I hope I'm still audible.
Yeah, Prashant, you're audible.
Got it. Thanks. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one, which is basically an autopilot for testers. And I hope there are a few test enthusiasts in this session who would be interested in this. What we're accomplishing within autopilot for testers is making the life of a tester much easier. So this is by helping them to create those test designs, helping them with test automations, and also the test management around it. So let's take a look at how this works. So let me go back to my environment here. Let's go to my test automation, which is basically the test manager. So one of the biggest challenges a tester will have is basically creating those test cases. So let's say you have provided a requirement. And in this case, let's take a requirement called create loan request. So there's a requirement here which says that as a potential UI bank customer, it's a fictionary bank, UI bank, I want to seamlessly apply for a loan via the UiPath banking application so that I can quickly secure the funds I need. So this is the requirement. Probably the tester is also given a couple of standard operating practices, maybe some kind of a guidelines, documents, etc. But the tester has to think through the various test cases you need for this particular requirement. There could be age limits. There could be certain limits based on an upper limit on how much they can apply or a lower limit. There could be various situations where in which they'll have to come up with the different scenarios. So that is where UiPath can help you to create those test cases using UiPath Autopilot. So the first step towards that is something called an evaluate quality. So only if your requirement is good, you can create better test cases. So the first step is to create or to evaluate the quality. So the quality will be based on this requirement which has been given. I could also attach a couple of documents. Like in this case, I'm attaching a PDD called UI Bank Create Loan Request. So I can attach that, add any more documents if required. I could give any specific prompts, like what exactly are you looking at? Are you looking at for an audit? Are you looking for a performance evaluation or a security assessment, etc.? If not, I can just ask it to go ahead and evaluate the quality. So what we're doing now is we are leveraging the power of generative AI and other AI capabilities by which we are looking at all these documents, and it is going to evaluate the quality of that particular requirement and give you certain recommendations. It could give you, like, for example, in this case, it says that, hey, there is this error handling which is missing. Do you want to add that? Or it says that, is there anything specific to loan term selection? Do you want to add that? Or are there any edge case scenarios, any upper boundaries or lower boundaries, right? If you want to create that. So it is going to give you a set of recommendations by which you can improve your requirement quality. So that's the first step. But then what you do after that is you can go ahead and generate the test. So I'm now, again, selecting all the documents here. I could add additional things. And I can also say what kind of test cases am I looking for? Am I looking for a boundary value testing? Am I looking for a rapid test idea creation? Am I looking for an end-to-end verification? I can provide some additional prompts here if required, or if I can just go ahead and generate the test. So here again, what's happening is it is looking at the requirement document. It is looking at the attachments which you have attached. It is looking at the various prompts which has been provided to, and it is going to give you a set of test cases which can basically be leveraged, which can basically be added back to your project, and you can do your automated test cases around it. And it is not just going to be one-liners. It is not just going to say that, hey, test the boundary value. It is not that. It will give you data. It will give you what are those upper boundary, what is your lower boundary, what are the various steps involved in each of these. So it is going to give you an entire set of test cases which you can just add it to your set of automated test cases. So for example, let's take a look, verify loan application rejection for invalid age format. So it is telling you what are those steps. You have to go to this particular application page, enter 50,000 in the loan amount value, enter 25.5 in the age field. What is the expectation? Is that it displays an error message indicating that the age must be a positive integer. So similarly, for various other cases, it is going to give you a set of test cases by which you can actually create your end-to-end automations. This is a very cool feature, the UiPath Autopilot for testers. We see a lot of interest from our testing community out here who are leveraging this for their for creation of those automated test cases. What you can also do is once those test cases are created, and I don't know whether I'll have enough time to get into that today, but once those test cases are created, you can convert that into a coded test case just by clicking a few buttons in UiPath, selecting a few options. You can actually convert that test case into a coded test case. It will give you a complete code of how the test case should be, and you're pretty much good to run your test case and see how that works. It also lets you do insights. So for example, you have run test cases, right? And I will not have data here, but let's assume you have run your test cases and you have been running it on a daily basis, you've been running it on a weekly basis, and you have a huge set of test results which it has happened. Now you could actually go in here and then you can analyze those test results. So if you want to look at, are there any specific pattern into any failures? If you want to look at are there any specific failure rate scenarios? Are there any specific boundary conditions which are not being met? You could basically get all those insights again by providing input, just by providing natural language instructions. You can get that entire insights. So that was Autopilot for testers. We do have one for analysts. I'm not going to get into that, but this is basically for some of our capabilities called process mining and communications mining, which works with a large set of data. So once you have the data which it has explored and it has found the various automation priorities and automation opportunities for you, you could converse with that data set by providing natural language. You could ask questions and it will give you, filter those criteria and filter those data set and provide it back to you. I'll keep that out of this session. Now let's look at this autopilot for everyone. This is a very interesting tool what we have, and as it says, everyone. It is not just for developers. While developers can continuously use it, it is also for anybody who would want to use this. It's a virtual interface like what you see here on the right side. It's kind of a virtual interface where you can ask it to do certain things for you. It comes with certain out-of-the-box automations. For example, it has automations for Outlook, Salesforce, Slack, Jira, and many other things like Zoom and Google and things like that. So, for example, you can use Autopilot for everyone to basically create an email or read emails and assess the information around it, look at a calendar, various other things. Let's see how this works. Let's take a quick example of how this works. So my autopilot looks something like this. Give me an example. Just give me a second here. Just give it a second while it starts. Right. So this is the virtual assistant, like what you see here. I have a box here in which I can ask it to do whatever I want to do, like in case of creating emails, context, various other things. And let's take an example in which I have an invoice. This is an invoice which I've downloaded from Google, a sample invoice. Okay. And what I want to do is I just want to extract the details from this invoice. So I could just drag it and drop it here. Or maybe just attach it. Just give me a second here. Okay, and I'm going to say extract details from the attached invoice. Just a few more seconds, it is going to extract the details from the particular invoice. Now, once I've extracted the details, right, I could use it to run an automation. So let's suppose I already have created a process which takes the details from this invoice and puts it into an Oracle or into an SAP, right? So once it is extracted, I could ask UiPath to run the automation to basically go ahead and enter it into your backend system. So you can see here now that it has already created this, already extracted the information. It has extracted the invoice number, the sender details, the client details, the amount, the line item details, everything is extracted. Now, if I have an automation, I could trigger it. Or in this case, let me say that send this in Outlook email to prasanth.krishnan@redbug.com. Oops. Okay. It's going to take all this information and create a nice email to me, through this autopilot. So it's basically a virtual assistant. It's a productivity enablement tool which helps you do a lot of things. This is just one sample example I gave you where it just extracted details from an invoice, but you could drop in multiple files, ask it to summarize it, create emails, create reports, run automations, etc. But I'm sure one question what you will have probably in your mind is, okay, now this is my email looks like. I could just click on run and it is going to send that email to you. But I'm sure one question which all of you will have in mind is, hey, you have done all this with ChatGPT and the Google Geminis and various other things. Why do you need an autopilot, UiPath Autopilot for this? Because this can be done with a lot of tools which are out there, extracting details from invoice, sending out emails and all this. But what makes us unique is when it comes to an enterprise framework, when it comes to an enterprise automation, right? We are within the premises of UiPath. So we are not looking at a third-party LLM. We're not looking at a third-party, a model which is out there. This is within the UiPath environment, which is very secure and safe for an enterprise. So your data, in terms of data security, in terms of what data is going out, what data is being used for retraining, for storage, etc. Right? All those things are handled by UiPath, and that's exactly the reason why a lot of our, enterprise customers, very large customers across the world, including customers in healthcare, banking, etc., they leverage UiPath. While there are so many other options out there, they still leverage UiPath for some of these capabilities because your data is safe, your data is secure. Whatever you do is within the premises of UiPath. So that is UiPath Autopilot for everyone. I think I'm getting towards the Q&A session, but I just want to show you one more thing, which I'm sure as developers, you would really like it. Yeah, so this was a point which I was talking about, how do Autopilot different from other AI assistant? So it's mainly because it's work across apps. So it is not just on data recommendations or data generations or any generative AI recommendation. It is also about using the data across various apps. And that apps, the number of applications which you can integrate to is seamless. You can integrate to any kind of application which are out there. This also learns from how you work. It helps you with end-to-end workflows. And that is where the automation comes in place. So this is where you can have an automation which is created for your end-to-end workflow, and you can use it as part of your overall platform. Now, one issue as developers, I'm sure people who have done UI automation, using UiPath or any other tools for that matter, you would realize that one of the challenge or the biggest challenge with UI-based automation is whenever your system changes, let's say you're working with with a browser-based application, if something changes, if an element changes out there, if an anchor changes, if some kind of a page changes, if there is a new pop-up which has come in, then that impacts your automation. While we do have certain capabilities, we used to have certain capabilities around it of how you can handle such kind of UI-based automation changes. We have introduced something called a healing agent. It's a pretty cool concept wherein which the bot will automatically understand what has changed and it will overcome that change by making the right decisions. It's an AI agent. It's an AI-powered tool by which it can understand what has changed and it can continue to process the way it was supposed to do. Not just that, it will give that information back to a developer so that they can include it back to their code. So let's say an anchor has changed or an element has changed. The healing agent is smart enough to realize what has changed, give the recommendation back to a developer so that they can incorporate it back to their code. They don't have to now go and record it or understand the element or whatever. We will give you those suggestions. So isn't that pretty cool? Let's take a quick video look at it. Just give me 1 second while I find it. Yeah, there you go. Okay, it's a 3-second video, 3 minutes video. Let's take a quick look.
UiPath Healing Agent makes your automations more resilient to unexpected UI changes and enables faster code updates to quickly get your automations back in production. Let's see how Healing Agent helps recover an unattended automation. An order management application was automated to fulfill orders. The automation ran successfully for a while, but then the application received a few UI updates. First, a new pop-up window was added to inform users about unsubmitted cart items. Second, the order form layout was modified, with fields rearranged to optimize screen space. Third, the application was updated with a modernized design, replacing labels with placeholders. These changes impacted the existing UI automation, causing selectors to fail and requiring code adjustments. Let's see how Healing Agent can seamlessly adapt to these unexpected UI changes. Healing Agent detects if unexpected windows are obstructing automation execution, whether from the application itself or external interference. It intelligently determines whether to close or minimize them. It understands positional shifts in UI elements and adjusts execution accordingly. Additionally, Healing Agent dynamically detects and corrects selectors using original selector attributes to maintain reliable automation without requiring manual updates. It understands automation semantically, recognizing elements with the same meaning and adapting accordingly to keep the automation running, even when labels or structures change. With these capabilities, Healing Agent eliminates the need for frequent automation updates, ensuring stability and reliability. As an administrator, you stay informed about execution outcomes. Healing Agent provides detailed insights into UI changes and how they were automatically resolved, including recovered activities adapted during execution, failure reasons for any encountered issues, screenshots captured during execution for better visibility, repair suggestions to enhance automation resilience. Healing Agent also streamlines the automation process for developers. As a developer, you can open repair suggestions directly in Studio. This allows you to quickly review and apply fixes without spending additional time on debugging. Healing Agent ensures your
So what we saw there is basically, when a bot ran, there was an element change, there was a pop-up, but the bot is able to understand the changes, still continue the process, and also take that change back to a developer so that they can get it back to their code, so they can incorporate that change into their code. So that is something very new for us, something which you have recently introduced. So I would leave the screen for about 10 seconds. Go take a QR code scanner for this. Please do scan this QR code. It takes you to our webpage, which gives you additional information on UiPath, Autopilot and agents and various other components what we have. Please do feel free to scan this. All right. What I also wanted to introduce this to you is this UiPath community. As developers, as technology folks, this is a great area for you to, if you're interested to understand about UiPath community, just go ahead and search for UiPath community in Google. You will get to the website and feel free to join a particular chapter in your city. You can look at the various events which are coming up in your city, and you can join those sessions. You could also look at what kind of, so here there's something which is coming up in July on Agentic Mastro. There's on Agentic Discovery webinar series. So a lot of these sessions are virtual. A lot of these sessions are in person. So we would pick an office or wherever, right? Probably in UiPath office or in some other places. You could come and you could join the community. So this is a great avenue for you to build your skills on UiPath, understand the core developers, understand what's happening in the UiPath set of tools and how it is helping customers in their automations. With that, we come to the end. Before I get into the QA, we are launching the second poll. So out of the various autopilots which you saw, we saw autopilot for developers, we saw autopilot for testers, we also saw autopilot for everyone, and maybe I just talked a little bit about analysts. But out of these, what do you think do you find as most impactful? So, Krishi, if you do want to just launch the poll.
Everyone, please feel free to vote and let us know your views on this question. We'll have it for a few seconds.
Wonderful.
So here we are with the results.
Wonderful. That's great. As expected, I was expecting on the developer side because this group is for developers. So that is really great. I hope you understood the value of the UiPath Autopilot for developers. Great. The testers is definitely a good option. Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for for providing your answers. We'll go into Q&A. Kushi, if there are any questions I can take up.
Yes, Prashant, definitely. So with that, we wrap up this truly insightful session on how UiPath Autopilot for developers is changing the way we build. And a heartfelt thank you to you, Prashant, for walking us through how AI-powered tools like UiPath Autopilot are revolutionizing the developer experience, from reducing repetitive work to enabling faster, smarter, and more creative automation. And now let's move forward with the questions that we've received from the audience. I'll read it out them for you so you can let me know your views on the same.
Sure.
So the first one is that can you share any success stories or metrics where teams accelerated their deployment timelines using Autopilot?
Absolutely. That's a great question. There's a lot of customer stories and case studies. So for example, if I just think through it, there was a case study for Cisco, who's leveraging UiPath Autopilot for testers, and they have been able to reduce their entire cycle time by at least 70%, if I remember correctly. But if you do a quick Google search on it on the UiPath website, you'll be able to find that particular case study. So there are a lot of case studies, and there are a lot of metrics around how customers are using this, not just the developer part, but also the UiPath for testers and how they are able to get value out of this.
All right, Prashant, moving forward to the next one. Suman is asking that how do you respond to concerns that tools like Autopilot may replace developers rather than support them?
Wonderful question. It's a kind of question which we hear from customers also when we talk about AI and how AI will it displace people, or is it going to help them do things faster? So we believe it is a productivity improvement tool. It's not a displacement tool. It is going to help a developer do things much easier, much faster, more accurately, providing them the right tools, providing the right context of doing things much efficiently. It is not going to displace a developer. It is going to help you do things much faster. For example, the tester tool, the Autopilot for testers, right? Instead of a tester thinking through all those test cases, the Autopilot is going to generate those test cases and give it to you. But you still need a tester to review it, kind of add things to it. You need that human judgment. You need that human intelligence at some point of time. While AI can do a lot of things for you, you still need the human intelligence to come in and, the guardrails around it and, to help this thing come to a correct closure.
Right, Prashant. Then the next one is that how does UiPath differentiate between tasks suited for full automation and those requiring human validation?
Right. Again, a great question. So while I mentioned that anything can be automated, with the kind of technology what we have, irrespective of what application you have there, irrespective of the business process, with the AI-powered tools what we have, you can definitely solve an automation for any kind of use case out there. But you may not be able to get 100% straight-through processing because of various factors. For example, let's say you're looking at documents which are scanned documents. You're looking at images. You are looking at handwritten documents. So in those cases, you may not be able to get 100% straight through because of the quality of the documents. It could be about the quality of the data which comes in. It could be about a quality of, or maybe not be able to understand what is the next step of action. So that is where we believe that there is a human in the loop, which is very required for your enterprise automation. So the platform itself, the UiPath automation, it can send a notification to a human to come and take a look at what is that exception, what is accuracy, what is the confidence score, and decide whether this can proceed through straight-through processing or whether they have to provide an input back to the bot to chain the data and take it forward. So getting a human in the loop in your enterprise automation is also very key. So our latest platform is the agentic platform. The latest capability is agentic. While our the agentic is going to solve a lot of very complex use cases. The tagline what we have is agents think, agents give you the judgment, the brain behind it. robots do. Robots will take the actions and people will lead it. So people are still required in your automation journey.
Right, Prashant. And the next one is that what level of debugging and error resolution can Autopilot currently handle? And is it smart enough to handle exceptions in real time?
Yeah, so debugging and error resolution can, as I mentioned, debugging is always there. We have a debug mode in Studio by which you can debug to each step and see where it is failing, what needs to be done, what are those variables, what are the watchers and everything. You can do all that. And error resolution through Autopilot, like for example, you could use Autopilot to have a better code or better expressions created for you. Is it smart enough to handle exceptions in real time? Yes, that's the healing agent what you just saw. So whenever there is an exception which happened, especially in the UI automation, when a new pop-up came, when an element has changed, using healing agent, it can heal that. It can automatically understand what has changed, not disrupting your current flow. It can continue to work through the current data transaction and also bring back that changes into your code. That's what healing agent does. So it can actually handle, it's smart enough to handle the actual exceptions.
Yes, Prashant, definitely. All right. So the next one is that are the LLMs being used by you or are created and maintained by UiPath only?
Great question. We have two LLMs today. There is a DocPath, which is basically used for our document understanding. Document understanding is a capability by which you can look at various kinds of documents, the structured documents. So, for example, in the workflow which I showed, I dropped an invoice, and it automatically extracted the data from it. So that's coming through a UiPath LLM. It is called DocPath. We also have an LLM called CompPath, which is basically for communications mining. This is for various kind of communication which comes in, and it helps you to extract details from that particular emails and various other communications. So these are the two LLMs what we have, CompPath and DocPath. For a lot of other capabilities, we work with multiple models. We have integrations with OpenAI, we have integration with Anthropic, and various other capabilities. We use different models for some of our other capabilities also.
Yes, Prashant. Then the next one is that with AI taking more execution level decisions, how should teams maintain governance and prevent unintended automation outcomes?
Wonderful. This is something which we hear again. So that's where the guardrails comes in. So we don't want AI to hallucinate. We don't want AI to go and make those wrong decisions for you. We always want the right decisions to be taken. We want the data to be right structured before it actually goes into your enterprise systems. So that's where the guardrails comes in. And the guardrails are many. For example, one of the guardrails what we have is the human in the loop coming in when AI is not able to proceed with certain things. When AI does not have enough confidence, enough accuracy to proceed, it can always come in and ask for a human to come and take a look at the exception or the data extraction and make decisions where it is not able to continue. Also, this goes through something called an AI trust layer. So we have, which is a very important, critical backbone of our overall AI, is something called AI trust layer, which gives you governance controls of what kind of models can be enabled, what kind of features can be enabled and disabled across tenants and various other things. It also gives you data security in terms of what data goes into your third-party LLMs. In some cases, what kind of data is being stored, or rather not being stored, and it is not being used for any retraining. So with a combination of guardrails, with a combination of our AI trust layer, you will be able to maintain the governance and prevent any kind of hallucinations within UiPath.
Very well said, Prashant. And now we'll take the last two questions as we are running short of time. So the second last one is that what features are built into UiPath to help manage auditability and version control when AI is involved?
Great. Yeah. So version control is always there. When you create your code within UiPath Studio, there is a version control. It always gives, whenever you publish a code, it will give you the minor versions and the major versions. You can give your instructions on what their version is about, your descriptions on what their version is about. With respect to auditability, there is logging. There is very detailed logging, which is available for you to find out what's happening. One part which I didn't cover today is about the agentic automation. Do take a look at our offering on UiPath Agentic. UiPath Agentic also come with an agentic orchestrator, where you can actually create your agents using the BPMN notations. But it's not just that. It gives you very detailed level of audit trails of how an agent is working. An agent is, again, an AI agent. It's an AI-powered an instruction or a tool. So you can look at what is the token which has gone to the LLM, what is the exact data which has gone in, what is the JSON, what is the response back. So it gives a complete auditability of how that AI agent is working. Anything on top of it, you can definitely put in your logs. You can have detailed logging, which helps you improve the auditability.
Rightly answered, Prashant. So the last question for the day, for the session is that, do you see any challenge in leveraging this tool in DevOps ecosystem?
Not at all. So we do have CI/CD integrations. So that is also there. There is a way by which you can integrate into a few CI/CD tools. Anything on what we do not support by default, you can have custom integrations built in. That is also possible. But there are CI/CD integrations with UiPath, which is available today, which helps you, a developer, to use DevOps.
Right, Prashant. So many questions, but most of them answered. And I think these insights are going to help all our attendees and all our audience very much in their day-to-day doubts and in their day-to-day lives with dealing with all these concerns that Autopilot and UiPath Autopilot, that how they are changing the way that we build. So with that, I would like to conclude this session. And thank you so much, Prashant, for this truly empowering and motivating session today. It was an absolute pleasure having you here with us. I would also like to thank all our wonderful participants for their enthusiastic engagement and for making this webinar a great success. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. Stay tuned for more future forward conversations from TechGig. And the session has been recorded, and the recording will be soon available on techgig.com. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Until next time, take care and keep building smarter.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks, Prashant. Have a great day ahead.